Hi, Matt with another Yonk Quick Hit. I'm the CXO here at Percona, and so wanted to talk to you a little bit about one of the trends we're talking about at this conference and give you a little bit more insight and detail into it. So I'm not going to do a lot of fancy slides. I'm just going to talk a little bit about this and get into a little bit more of the details. So over the past few months, we've had a lot of questions around Kubernetes and the growth of the multi-cloud. And is Kubernetes and is Docker ready for production workloads? And we've already seen some sessions here today that do talk about that. And I want to say that we are seeing production workloads in Kubernetes right now. Now, there's been a lot of surveys, not only our open source database survey, but others in the community that have shown the growth of Kubernetes. But when we talk about databases, according to Datanami's survey, databases are actually the number 2 application that are deployed on Docker infrastructure and on Kubernetes. That's actually a very large, number of, instances. And why is this? Because, when most of us think about databases, we're thinking about big databases that are multi-terabytes in size. And we're thinking about these massive monolithic applications. But when we look at today's modern application infrastructure, a lot of them are building microservices. And you might have actually hundreds or thousands of individual databases that make up one larger application. And each one of those databases, and each one of those applications, they're running their own unique set of things. And a lot of application developers are now developing those to be very isolated from one another. And that means that we're now designing and managing thousands or tens of thousands of databases in an environment. And this is a perfect use case for Kubernetes and for Docker, because these little tiny or smaller databases, and tiny is a relative word, right? It could be, gigabytes, it could be megabytes, it could be hundreds of megabytes, it could be even, bigger than that, hundreds. But as we start to look at these applications being designed and how they're structured, now we're dealing with many, many systems and many, many databases. And the management of that needs to get easier. And that's where many companies are now investing in Kubernetes and investing in, Docker and investing in, containerization. And you're still seeing a lot of the bigger applications and databases that are housing terabytes and petabytes of data still remain either on-prem and bare metal or in really large cloud instances. And that's normal. You're going to have a mix. And we talked about this earlier, that part of this is the hybrid environment that we're dealing with nowadays, because you're no longer just in a single cloud on a single database. Now all of a sudden you're dealing with many clouds, many databases, many different locations. And it's the same thing with the database sizes and their makeup, right? So you might have in your infrastructure, several petabyte size databases that are used for, analytics and for data warehousing and, trying to get more business intelligence. And then you might have 10,000 databases that are all really tiny and are very specific to a certain application. And that split is going to be normal, and you're going to see more and more of it over time. And that's where we're going to have to deal with it. So is Kubernetes ready for production workload? Absolutely. Is it ready for all production workload? No. It depends. And that's where you have to be knowledgeable and make the judgment call on what fits into that environment and what doesn't. And if you can do that, you can be successful with Kubernetes, just like the tens of thousands of customers and companies who are using Kubernetes right now with their databases. Thanks for listening.